All right, it is 6:03 p.m. on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. This is a meeting of the Westfield Flood Control
Hang on,
Commission.
I gotta share it. Hey, yeah.
Well, we can hear you, Mark, so we're live. Let's see. Call to order.
Come on,
Mark
slide over.
Goodness.
Sorry.
Hey, whoever that
Yeah,
is,
I'm here.
your microphone is live and we are on the air. Mark Goodness. Okay.
Here.
Okay. Jack Leary.
Present.
Al Jaguar, present. Mark Cressati.
Here.
Casey Berube. I believe Casey's here. *6. If that's you, Casey.
Yeah, I'm here, Al.
Copy. Thank you, Casey. And Steve Meckleb.
Yep. How you doing, Al?
Excellent, Steve. Okay. Let's see. Moving on to item 3, public report participation. Do we have anyone here from the public who would like to speak? Hearing none. Councilor Figge, would you like to speak? You're muted, Ralph.
Yeah, there we go.
There we
Just
go.
want to say I was out of town for all the festivities, but it seemed everyone handled everything well. So job well done. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Ralph. I hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Yes, it was enjoyable. A lot of work, but enjoyable.
And Councilor Matthews Kane, I see you're here. Would you like to speak?
I am here. I'm just here to listen, and I'd like to echo what Councilor Figge said about how well things were handled during the last flood event. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay, let's see. Hearing no other commentary from the public, I'll move on to item 4, report from City Engineer Mark Cressati. Mark, you have the floor.
All I can tell you is I'm scheduled for another meeting with the Friends of the Columbia Greenway tonight for 6:30. So I'm going to step out. I don't expect that to be too long. I'll step out around 6:30 and I'll come back. I anticipate your meeting might continue. So
Well, it's only one item. I don't think this will go on too long. So, our regular meeting will be next week, only because tomorrow it wouldn't be feasible. Let's see. Do you have anything that you'd like to say, Mark, beyond that?
we don't have much of an agenda item, so I mean, there's not too much to update. The NRCS efforts on the dams have not progressed yet, or at least they haven't had further correspondence regarding them. I did get some correspondence from Representative Kelly Pierce, and he's going to be pursuing requests that were made as relative to state funding for projects, including flood. I think, Al, you're aware of that.
Yes.
So I think that's about all I can say.
Okay. By chance, did you see my email that I sent you? I had a few questions relative
You had
to
a
tonight.
couple of them. One was on the levy. The guy is still working. I don't think he should be, but what are you gonna do? I think that's in violation of the notice of intent. But, how are the dams? Are the dams done? Do you know?
He was
I mean,
going
those
down
aren't
there.
agenda items, so we can cover this
No,
next week.
yeah.
It's fine.
Correct. He was working on them. Casey opened
Yeah.
up the gates today. So, but anyway, okay, moving on.
Yeah. And the other email. I don't know,
Hold
the other
on.
email
We
you
got an
had mentioned,
80-20 grant that we applied for.
Hold on one second, Jack.
What's
Hold
the
on
status on that?
Jack, hold on one second. Mark, what were you saying? Mark Cressati, go ahead and finish what you were saying, please.
So I think your other email spoke to that grant that you applied for. I don't recall that I was involved in that, so I don't have anything to update you on it.
Okay. My recollection was that you had
I saw
filled it
that you
out.
sent an email directly to
Yes,
the contact.
right.
person.
My understanding was is that you filled it out and sent it back to Steve Sroka with some commentary.
Okay.
So that was my recollection of how it worked, but that's why I was wondering if you had heard anything about it.
No, I'm sorry, I haven't heard anything. Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that grant was applied for, I believe, in February.
Correct.
And so it's been quite a while. I mean, the problem I see is that we have worked with Ty Bond. It's $60-something thousand, including NOIs and the engineering part of it. And that grant we apply for is to cover that expense. Now, we don't want to do something and pay for it. And then when the grant comes through, they say, well, you know, you already paid for that. We don't apply for anything you've already done. This is something you haven't done. Therefore, it's something that we should resolve soon because it's holding up the work with Ty Bond, which is not fair to Ty Bond either.
Right. And that's true, Jack.
So how do we solve this?
Well, to get into that a little bit, just to answer that, I did send out the email today. You were CC'd on it.
I got it.
I did not get a response from Mr. Hinckley, who is in charge of that grant. So, but I'll speak to it a little bit more as we get into this, if you don't mind.
Well, I don't mind, but it's a very key point. I
It
feel
is.
that our progress, the speed of our progress or lack of such, depends on that grant because we don't want to do something, pay out of our budget, which is very limited, and then find out that when the grant comes through, if it comes through, that, oh, you've already done that. That's something we don't cover what you did in the past. It's only what you're going to do in the future. So it's holding the whole progress up.
Right.
And it's been since February. I mean, that's not yesterday.
Right. Nope. You're absolutely right, Jack.
It's not atypical though, Jack. I mean, state grants, we're still waiting on one. The city council voted a resolution for the mayor to sign in anticipation of receipt of the grant. We were told back in June that we should anticipate and proceed and get things put in order, but they still haven't announced it. So, and that was applied
I would
for
just
back in
read-
January.
Not to cut you off, but I was just reading in the newspaper recently where a fantastic amount of money was granted for culvert work. And for example, a place like Agawam got $61,643. Southwick, $80,000. Well, that's primarily what we're working on. 90% of it. We did some cutting of trees on the side that doesn't belong to the culvert, but 90% of what we're doing is culvert repair and updating. So therefore, how come we didn't get into this grant? I mean, who was notified by Kathleen A. Theoharides? I think I pronounced her name a little wrong, but she's with the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And she granted out that grant, and it went to, I think, 26 municipalities. And some of them, you know, in Western Mass, and some were pretty small places. Now, Westfield, we sit between two major rivers. We got a floodplain that, like, no other, well, I shouldn't say no other, I don't know that for a fact, but among the very few in the state. And we didn't get up to apply for it. Who knew about this grant? Did you ever hear anything about that grant that was just granted?
No, not until it was granted. And just for
Then how
clarification,
come? I mean, we're doing flood control. We're not learning the facts about what grants are out there. Something is wrong. We've got to either contact this Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs and make ourselves known to them and make them cognizant of what is, you know, our issues. And maybe I'll make a motion at our regular meeting to send some information to her and try to get some kind of a back and forth communication. It's
Right.
important.
oh, it is, Jack. I agree with you on that.
It's a little frustrating, actually. When I
I-
sat there and read that article, I got, ew.
Well, just for clarification, because you did ask me this question. So it is a different grant than the one we applied for.
Agreed, but we didn't know this other grant existed.
Right. So it's a question, and I'm not sure who is in charge of the MVP grants in Westfield at this point. I know we applied. I believe Jay Vinsky was the person who was heading it up at that point, but I don't know who in the city is in charge of the MVP grant system at this point. Do you, Mark?
Well, Jay headed up us getting sort of qualified for MVP grants, but after that, it's up to the individual groups to apply for the grants. And Jay really isn't instrumental in it anymore.
Right. Well,
Well, then we have a problem because we have no staff. You can't call us. We don't have a telephone, a desk, a computer, a secretary, or a coordinator. So therefore, we've got to make communications among our own city officials. So we should talk with Jay Vinsky also and say, you know, make us cognizant of these things if you hear about them, or any other of our city departments that hear about them. Because without a staff, we're really behind the eight ball as far as getting the information. And I definitely would have worked to apply for it,
right.
even
Well,
if we had a higher Ty and Bond to do the filling out of the documentation.
right. Well, I'm gonna stop it there, Jack, just so we can move along with the business.
Okay.
It's a very good point, and I think there's more to the MVP grant, how that's supposed to work. I think there's supposed to be somebody in the city that heads that up yearly, and I don't know.
Well, we
who
got to
that
get
is.
to hold of them and contact them and get, so we're communicating so we can understand what to apply for. And then definitely, I think, you know, it'd be stupid not to apply for them.
Right, right. I think again, well, we'll talk about this at the next meeting, but
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
move on. We'll move on.
I'm covered. Let's move on.
Thank you. Mark Goodness, do you have anything for Mr. Crusati? Your mic is muted.
No,
There we
I'm
go.
leaving him 2 months in a row, alone, boy, a record.
Fair enough, Mark. And just so everyone knows, Ed Osowski and Mark Goodness is using Ed Osowski's computer at the moment. Okay. Let's see. Item 5, report from Department of Public Works. Casey Berube. Casey, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah,
Evening,
so
Casey.
as we spoke earlier, I did open up the gates for Lou Belzic to get into the flood control structures today. I believe he'll be done with both. He should be done with both of them today. So barring out any equipment failures. So the levees should have been mowed. And I actually gave him a key so that he does not have to pursue access moving forward. So I know his contract's up for negotiation. He submitted his paperwork. He's coming in $5,000 higher than his previous quote. So we'll see who the low bidder is and what happens from there. So other than that, obviously we've had a lot of precipitation. So Public Works has been working with Mark and his team in engineering and Meredith Conservation addressing some of the strain that is put on our drainage systems throughout the city. But beyond that, yeah, nothing further to go on. If you have any questions for me, go ahead, please.
All right. Mark Goodness, do you have any questions for Casey?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to give a high praise to Casey. I asked him to put up the sign that was required that it's a project that's under the Department of Public Works, and he did it bingo efficiently, and it's well put up. Again, high praises to him. It's a great job by a great man.
Thanks,
Casey-
Jack.
Hey,
Happy-
Casey, I'm going to
happy to
echo
help.
that. I'm going to echo that, Casey. Thank you for the DEP sign at Little River Levee. Much appreciated on
No
that.
problem.
Also, thank you for responding to my message earlier for Lou Belzic to get a key out there.
Right. And I did see, I failed to get back to you on the erosion control stuff, but yeah, we have that all under contract with EJ Prescott. So it's,
Okay.
everything's available in locked rate prices. So, you know, depending on, you know, what we want to procure, it's all contractually, you know, fixed rate pricing.
Okay.
Oh, one other question. There are two concrete blocks that might block his entrance into the Little River Levee. Have them been removed?
That's not going to be an issue for him. I asked him if he we put those there because it looked like there was some unauthorized vehicle traffic up there. But we can move them if need be, but he said he's capable of moving them himself. So.
Okay, good, good. Just want to clarify that.
All right. Thanks, Jack. Thank you, Casey. You know, and again, I sent it in an email to everyone in the all the department heads and whatnot in the city council, mayor, about what the DPW did that night in water resources during our flash flooding event. So again, my thanks to everyone who was involved. Really good job trying to mitigate that water and flooding issue. Okay, on to the primary thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Item 6, report from Westfield Emergency Management, Steve McCaleb. Steve, you have the floor.
How you doing now?
Good, Steve.
Casey, I want to say thank you. I've seen the guys out there cleaning out the sewers. They were down over there on Holland Ave the other day, so I know they're trying to keep up with this, keep the people happy about the street flooding. So your department's doing what you can do. So, hey, congratulations on that. Al, did you get that MEMA report that I sent you?
I did. I'm actually going to touch on it briefly tonight under communications.
Yeah, I also sent it to the entire council. We skated these last storms. If you look at that report, the amount of damage that was done through Franklin County, Orange, Hampshire County, Worcester, Berkshire County, we really lucky.
We are. We're very lucky.
So I did send a copy to the mayor. I did send a copy out to the entire city council so they can look at that, see how we bit the bullet and didn't have the damage that other towns have. I'm going to call a department head meeting to see what our resources are if we do have flooding. One of those dams lets go or anything like that. What do we have? So the mayor is going to be available on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. So I'll try to set up the department heads and him, get an idea of what we have.
I lost you.
Yeah, his signal's breaking up a little bit. Steve, if you can hear me?
In case we don't.
I don't think he can hear us, and we can't hear him. Steve?
He's muted too.
Steve, if you can hear me, your signal's breaking up. We cannot hear you. Nothing, Steve. I can see you, but it's your signal's breaking up. Your connection's having issues. I don't know if you're on Wi-Fi or not.
Skate.
Sometimes it helps if you turn off the video and you just do the audio. Sometimes that's the secret.
There you go. Can you hear us, Steve? No, he's there, but I don't think we can't hear him. All right, well, you there, Steve? No, if you can hear us, I can't hear you. Yeah.
Al, why don't we move on? When Steve gets back, we'll bring him in.
Yeah, I can see him
That's a good
there.
idea.
I can see him, but hold on. No, we had him there for a second. All right, we'll move on, Steve, and we'll try to come back to you if we can get your audio back. All right. Moving on, old business update, notice of intent and tree clearing and debris removal on portion of Little River Levee. So I'll start with this. The recent flooding events over the last couple of weeks have been interesting down at Little River. Obviously, water's up everywhere. We reached flood elevation of 13 feet on the Westfield River the other day. Sunday, actually, it was yesterday morning. At about 4:45, we hit flood elevation of 13, or actually it was earlier than that, but at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, we hit 13.83 feet on the Westfield River, which is minimum flood stage. Very low-lying areas along the Westfield River would have experienced flooding, but none of the
next time around. I want to be prepared in case we need to.
Okay, I think Steve's audio is catching up with us. You there, Steve? No, we don't hear you, Steve. It's old audio that's kind of catching up in the data stream. I don't know why, but anyway. So yeah, so Little River is up quite a bit. It's up over the culverts and been over the culverts for at least, I don't know, a week or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. There is some erosion taking place. A lot of the debris that we were looking at having removed, the log jam in front of the outfalls, a good portion of it has actually been washed downstream, but there's been some new stuff moved in. And I haven't been down there since yesterday to look to see what's actually moved out and moved in. As far as the tree clearing goes, we spoke to it a little bit. We have 7 trees that are identified. I had conversation with Meredith Borenstein, our city conservation coordinator, the other day, and about some of the issues we are having around the
Take some
9,000
action.
square feet. Sorry, his audio is still streaming in from what he was saying earlier. So there's 9,000 square feet on the levee that we're allowed to work with, plus the 7 trees, plus the debris at the front of the outfalls at the levee. And there's some question as to where that 9,000 square feet lie because of the way Ty and Bond had written it up. So after a conversation with Meredith, she was fine with us putting in markers where roughly the 9,000 square feet is that we want.
I was up on
that was more jumping in on the audio.
North Road today. What is that?
Oh, you want me to put
Yeah,
them in the
I was
radio?
getting good or no? Hang on. Let me switch computers. Well, I'm on the city Wi-Fi, so.
Okay, Steve, can you hear us?
Why don't you go ahead and let me try getting on the. Okay.
I don't know if that's.
Is that any better, Al?
Can you hear me, Steve?
I can hear you. Is that any better?
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. Computers, Al.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm going to switch computers. I'm going to go to I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to try switching computers. I'm going to switch my other computer. I'm looking for your email. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Steve, can you hear me? I can hear you, Steve. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Switching computers.
Gotcha.
I'm going to swap computers.
Okay, his other computer's popping in. So I apologize, folks. Little technical difficulty. So we're getting audio streaming in from prior conversation that Steve had put into the stream, and it's just starting to come in, plus what Steve was just saying. So I don't know if he can hear us or not. All right, so to continue on with what I was saying about Little River Levee. So I spoke with Meredith Borenstein, our city conservation coordinator, about the 9,000 square feet of vegetation management we are looking to do on Little River Levee. We looked at we had spoke with Ty and Bond about the cost of what that would be to mark out that area. And it would probably be more cost effective to put in a few markers where Meredith, so we can show Meredith where this 9,000 square feet is. Have the city contractor for the erosion controls come in, put down the barrier on that line once it's approved by Meredith, and then we can allow our contractor to go in and remove the 7 trees, the debris at the outfalls, and start the vegetation removal process on a small portion of Little River Levee that was approved by the Conservation Commission. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The biggest problems we have at this point is A, marking out that area. B, there's a condition that we sod or seed the area so we have some sod for erosion control, which is what it would be done anyway. We need to plant grass on it. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But we have a lot of other side issues that tie into it, and then the larger scope of the project, and then the long-term version of the project, which is to rehabilitate the entire levee. So with that, Mark Goodness or Jack Leary, do either of you have anything you want to say to that? I know you probably do, Jack.
Oh, I'm a very quiet
I've
person.
got
I don't
nothing
talk a
else.
lot. Who's it? It's very important that we make sure that when we mark the 9,000 square feet, that we do it on what recommendation we come from engineers, PEs, from Army Corps of Engineers. And we've got it from the reading of the little figure 4, I think it was, it didn't seem like those markers were going down far enough toward what I call the toe of the levee. And so if we're not going to cover area like 10 feet away from the toe of the levee, that wasn't clear to me. It said 10 feet from the toe. It wasn't clear they're going up toward the crest or they're going down toward the river. And we've got to get that down so at least we cover the toe of the levee, though the Army Corps says 15 feet even further away from that, going toward the river. So when we mark those marks, if we had anybody do it and they don't include the toe of the levee at least to the toe and maybe a foot further, then we really haven't accomplished too much, because the erosion could go at the bottom part where the toe is and undermine the whole darn thing. And we haven't cleared that area out. We don't know what kind of leakage is going on there. And that's one of the things Army Corps has said multiple times is we can't, with the way that whole levee, the whole 2,500 feet, it looks like a forest. They can't really see where the erosion is. I remember you and I a couple times have walked, multiple times have walked it, sometimes with city councilors. And I think you have a picture of me standing in a hole in the side of the levee where a tree came out and pulled the roots out, and now we have holes in the levee. Well, when water gets into that area, it's a great place to start erosion. You already got a hole in there. That's not the only place either. Walking further down, when I do with the Army Corps of Engineers, there's other, you saw it too, there are other places where trees will come out and pull the roots, and there's holes in the levee. In this case, it's more toward the end that goes toward the Boys and Girls Club. It's not the end that goes over toward the riding path. So we've got to really get on the ball on that area. And again, it takes time, not cheap, but it's got to be done, because that levee, with a real strong hurricane, or if Cobble Mountain has a problem and it releases water, because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of water is coming out of Cobble Mountain when they're under stress and have to save their levee by bypassing some of the water out. The Little River levee goes whoop, way up. And I think that was one of the primary factors involved in the 1955 flood. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was in Europe with the Air Force during that flood, so I never saw it.
Right. No, you're correct, Jack. So the headwaters, the primary headwaters for Little River are dammed by the Cobble Mountain Reservoir Dam. And then upstream from that is Borden Brook Dam, which is also a further upstream area of Little River itself. And then Munn Brook, which is a major tributary to Little River, is its headwaters are dammed up by the Granville Reservoir, which is Westfield's drinking water reservoir in Granville. So
the problem is Cobble Mountain belongs to the city of Springfield. It's their supply of water. It's something we have really limited control. Unless we see that as a hazard and a public safety, then we can communicate in a nice way with them and maybe get some resolved of issues. But Cobble Mountain, to me, like I talk to different people and they say, oh, there's Munn Brook and there's Jack's Brook and a few others in land where the water can flow in from. So it's not really a tremendous amount. I say, you're forgetting Cobble Mountain. Cobble Mountain is what killed us in 55, and they had to do it. Otherwise, the whole dam would go and it really would be engulfed with water. So any analysis, I think, has to cover with Cobble Mountain. Now, I know that the FEMA is going to come out with a new floodplain, and I don't know how much Cobble Mountain plays in the way they designed their floodplain for Westfield.
Right. And just for everyone's understanding, so Cobble Mountain Reservoir has 22.8 billion gallons of water storage capability. Borden Brook Reservoir, which is upstream of that, is 2.5 billion gallons of water, and Granville Reservoir is 1.5 million gallons. But again, 22.8 billion gallons of water is quite a bit of water sitting over the city of Westfield up on a mountain. And as Steve will attest, Steve's been looking into the seriousness of that. It's definitely a risk. And Little River Levee is a very, very small piece of the solution, but it's something, it's better than nothing. So it's our only hedge. It's our only real hedge against it.
And then you have the 3 Springfield waterworks dams up there off of Granville Road too.
Well, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay, those three there.
Yep.
Yep.
So the whole Cobble Mountain complex. So anyway, Jack, yeah, you were referring to the blowovers where large trees get blown over and take a large section of the levee. There's a good number of them across the entire length of the levee, both upstream and downstream of the Army Corps segment.
Well, when you walk the levee, and you know this as well as I do, you can't walk the levee like you're walking. It's a path through the woods, is the way I described it, except for the 550, which was destroyed in '83 and repaired.
Right.
But I remember taking with the Army Corps of Engineers, 2 of them down there to show them where the river turns and comes
Yep.
at really a sharp angle, almost a 90-degree angle, and goes along Potter's Hollow Road. And we had to climb over trees right on the crest, right in the path. You couldn't walk without climbing over trees that have fallen down across the crest of the levee. It's a
Right.
disaster.
It is.
And it's not, we get a real severe hurricane, and Cobble Mountain has a problem, and they release a lot of water. I tell you what, we're protecting, and with that, according to the proposal by Army Corps of Engineers, we protect the post office, we protect the Boys and Girls Club, we protect a school, we protect the Big Y, and other, there's a drugstore in that area, but also we protect other factories and businesses, including our own DPW.
Correct. Well, on this piece, and this is the first step in the whole scope of the project, is getting this little area squared away and regaining compliance with the Army Corps. So going back to the main course of this, so the discussions with Meredith Borenstein, and that's kind of where this issue is the 9,000 square feet. What you read in what Ty and Bond prepared versus what is shown in Figure 3 doesn't necessarily totally correspond with each other. And after explaining to Meredith, we discussed it a little bit more. I think the solution is that we show her where this area actually is, and what was approved, which is the 9,000 square feet. I think that Figure 3 page was an error. So I think that's just the simple solution. We go down there, we mark out where this is, and move on, so we can get this thing done. Hopefully within the next week or two, we can get the Lubelzik, our contractor, in there to start the process. But again, we've got to mark that area. We've got to get I forgot the name of those. They're compost fill wattle tubes, something to that effect. Casey, correct me if I'm wrong on the terminology.
Yeah, we can coordinate with Meredith to see what she wants. We typically use a straw wattle is what we'll do. You'll see
Right.
It's similar to what you see on the Coles Bridge project as you drive over.
Right. She had said to use a compost fill something tube, which I'm guessing that's what's being used over at the Coles Bridge. So yeah, I mean, I've had quite a bit of discussion with her over the last couple of weeks about these issues. So
She's been very cooperative.
Yeah, it's technicalities. We just want to make sure that we're doing this right, so there isn't problems, or that our contractor gets in there, starts cutting stuff down, and A and B don't necessarily make sense on the map versus what Meredith was aware that was agreed to by Concom. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think we've kind of got it narrowed down to what we need to do. But one of the
when
things
you say we, you're going to go down and do the marking?
Well, that's entirely possible, and that's what I was getting to.
This is the only, I've been on 5 or so commissions and other elected boards, and this is the only time that the commission had to go down and do the work. Usually they go down and observe and say approval or disapproval, but they never had to go down and physically do it. When I was in ComCom, we didn't go down and do the work. We looked at what they had done and said yes or no, or here you have to do this or that.
Well,
and it's the first board I've been on with the actual members of a board, because we have no staff, have to do the actual work. Ridiculous.
Well, we do have Steve Sroka got back to me on the question of what it would cost. It would be, believe he said $400 to $600 cost to mark out the area.
I think he told me 500.
Yeah,
But we have a problem on where actually he thinks the 9,000 square feet are, and what we, especially with that toe idea of the toe of the levee's got to be, part of it. I think we have to have a better understanding. Otherwise, we could end up with getting a lot of work done, but not necessarily to what we want.
Right. I believe we just lost, no, we still have him. Never mind. Yeah, we lost Steve. So anyway, yeah, I mean, so here's what we have. We can have tie and bond. We can pay tie and bond to come market. It's still within the budget that we approved, although it's a new fiscal year. So there's a sum of money that would have to be approved to be spent. We don't have an actual dollar amount, but we do need to commit to it or not. So,
Well, before we commit, again, with the understanding of what we actually want. In other words, when they go in, I think we have to meet with them and say, okay, we're going to that property. We're going to look. Here's where you start to measure the length along the crest. Here's where you measure going down toward the toe. We want that included and marked in it. So we don't end up like that figure 3 diagram, because if they mark according to that diagram, they're not going to get anywhere near the toe. And I'm confused on the idea of 10 feet from the toe. Which way are they measuring? Up or down from the levee bank?
right.
That's got to be straightened out. Otherwise, I would be uncomfortable with tie and bond doing it. I know they're very capable, they're very knowledgeable, but they got to make sure that they communicate with us and we communicate and likewise with them. So we actually, when they do it, then it's done and we're happy with it.
Right. It's also an additional expense. So,
Yeah, we don't have a lot of budget left because we got $90,000 cut from the part of the budget where we actually do the work.
and again, what makes the most sense is to me, as much as I don't like to do it, or like the idea of me doing it, but go down there, I'll put in a couple stakes with some flags, mark out 9,000 square feet. Wouldn't be the first time I've had to do something by hand for the commission, and have Meredith come down, take a look at what we've marked out, and proceed from there with the city contractor for sonnet tubes, or not sonnet tubes, wattle tubes, and start the process. Because
That serves like the most accurate and perfect solution. However, you're going to have to go down there. I hope you spray a lot for ticks.
Yeah, well, I'm down there all the time, Jack. So
I know you are. I hesitate at 84 years old with a pacemaker and all that to get bit by a tick and then spot it and remove it.
I've got my my pyrethine or whatever it's called. I soak
Well,
myself.
if you do it, we definitely can't complain about
it.
Rubber bands on your pants leg.
Exactly. There's Steve. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. So I need Mark and Jack, you guys, one of you make a motion how we want to proceed or discuss it further. I really, it's up to you guys how we want to proceed, and we'll vote from there.
Well, again, we're impacting on you and probably Mark, because I don't look forward to going down there and marking it, to be honest with you. Personally, again, because I have a tick phobia, I guess is the word I want to use. So I would like a recommendation from you on what, because you're going to be doing the work. What do you think would be, and I'm very happy with you doing it as long as you don't mind. That would be where I would move. But again, I don't want to make a motion and stick you with something that you say, oh, I wish you didn't do that.
All right. So my perspective is this. I don't relish the idea of doing it, but I think given everything that we have, cost wise and just timeline wise, it wouldn't take me all of that much time to go down there and do what needs to be done. I could do it in probably about 2 hours, if that.
I'll go with you, Al.
I'll go with
Okay,
you.
so Mark, you're going to make the motion. I'll second it. Go ahead.
I make the motion that we go down and mark out the area, and I'll even bring the paint to mark the trees.
No paint marking trees. God, no paint. No, we go down. It's stakes and flags. We have the materials. Stakes and flags.
To clarify, for case in the motion, the "we" refers to members from the Flood Control Commission. The "we" can be too general.
All right.
I'll second that. That's a motion. I'll second it.
All right, Mark, do you want to
Amend it that that I don't bring paint.
Well, that's
All
not
right,
even in the
okay,
motion.
hold on. Mark. All right, Mark, can you clarify your motion?
That the commission goes down to the area, marks out the area of the 9,000 square feet so that the work can be done.
Okay.
I'll
Do I have
second
a s-
that.
Seconded by Jack Leary, motion made by Mark Goodness. Any further discussion? I only have one other thing I'd like to say. So for clarification, the area will be marked. Meredith Bornstein, the city conservation coordinator, will come down and review the markings. And upon her approval of being satisfactory and within the bounds of what was approved by the Conservation Commission, then we can proceed with the next step, which would be the city contractor putting in the compost fill tubes or wattles, and then our contractor coming in and beginning work with coordination from Meredith Bornstein.
Well,
and
one
with-
question.
Yes,
When we put in the wattles, wouldn't she have to come back again to make sure they are put in the way, there has to be staked certain ways and
Yes.
located exactly in certain positions?
yes,
Would she have to go back a second time to make approval?
yes,
First for the marking and the second for the erosion barrier?
yes,
Yes,
correct.
she does, Jack.
Okay.
Yep, that would be correct. So, so just so everyone
the motion.
understands, motion's made, it was seconded. I'm calling for a vote. Mark Goodness,
Yes,
Jack Leary,
Yes.
Al Jagir, yes. Motion carries. I'll go down and start marking.
let me know when you go, Al, and I'll come on down.
Well, if all goes well, I'm going to go down first thing tomorrow morning since I'm on vacation. And I'll spend a couple hours down there. I can't give you an exact time, but I would say somewhere around 9 o'clock,
Okay,
Nine-
I'll meet you
Al-
there. I'll bring the
9, 10
coffee.
o'clock.
I can be
You already
there
have
too,
the
Al.
post and
Hold
the
on,
flags?
hold on 1 second. I've got 3 people talking.
Al, I might be able to assist. Just give me a holler in the morning.
Absolutely, Casey. I appreciate that. If you've got a gas weed whacker, that might come in handy.
Okay.
It will be there
Okay.
with us also, Al.
Okay, thank you. Jack Leary, you were saying something?
No, I was covered.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, I see still have a hand up for Mark Goodness / Ed Osowski. Something else?
No,
Okay, I see the hand up on the screen, that's all. Okay, Steve, you were gonna say something?
No, I've been listening in now. I got good audio. I swapped computers, so.
Yeah, much better. You're
Yep.
crystal clear now. So, okay, so that's pretty much it. Everything's approved. We're gonna go forward. Hopefully we'll have this thing kind of ironed out in the next week and a half. Okay, Steve, I'll go open the floor back up to you for what you were saying about the emergency management portion, because
Okay,
it broke up pretty bad halfway through.
Yeah, like I said, I did switch computers out. You guys were breaking up on coming through too, so I thought it was something going on with the internet. So anyways, the report I sent you, I did send also to the mayor and to the entire city council. We skated out compared to the other counties and towns around here, the major damage they had. So I'm going to set up a department head meeting and see what equipment we have if we have an issue here. What if something, one of those levees or dams does let go, or as Jack was saying, they let too much water go and we start getting some flooding. What do we have to use? So I'm going to try to put that together next week when the mayor has some free time. You're on vacation this week, unfortunately, so it sounds like next week you wouldn't have any time available. I'd like to have you in on it too, but
Well, depending on what time it is, I might be able to take my lunch. If it's toward noon time, 1 o'clock, depending, I might be able to take a lunch break.
okay.
I can't guarantee it, but
Right. Well, you're also out in Holyoke too, so it takes you a while to get back to Westfield, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to get back and do both
Right.
in time.
Right,
That would work.
exactly.
I was thinking you were going to do a Zoom.
Maybe we can. I could talk to Peter on that one. Possibly we can, because we'll be
Okay.
using room 201. Internet's there, and I believe the cameras are there too. I can talk to Peter on that as soon as I set something up. Maybe we could Zoom you in.
Yeah, I could definitely, I could definitely, well, I can't definitely. I would probably be able to Zoom in if everything
Okay.
goes according to plan.
Okay. Because we do have major damage around us. We just didn't get it. We do have some more storms coming according to the MEMA reports today with Albany and Boston. Tomorrow's supposed to miss us actually. So if we get another day, I think that the rivers are going to recede. As I was saying, isn't that Munn Brook up there on North Road?
No, Munbrook, it runs along Loomis on the south side of town, on the southwest corner of
Okay.
town.
What's up there on North Road there, the bridge that they repaired a few years back?
North Road is that general vicinity. There's two. There's
Powder Mill.
Powder Mill comes south, and then coming out of the Brickyard going north is Brickyard Brook, which goes into the Manhan River. So that actually flows north and out of our watershed.
Well, anyways, I took some pictures today. You're going to lose a tree up there, and it looks like it's going to come down on the power lines when it goes. The water was really, I'll forward you the pictures. Water was really coming through there. It has receded, but it's really chewing the bank away. And that tree, I think, is going to come down. When it does, it's going to take the power lines out. So I'll forward that to you.
Sure. If Casey, do you want to see that as well? I think.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
we're aware of it.
yeah.
Okay.
The pine
So
right
they've already seen it. They know what it looks like then.
Okay.
But
Just
not
on
much
the,
they can do with it right now because it's over the water. So, I mean, they can't get to it, and they'll just kind of have to wait till it comes down.
Right. What were you going to say, Casey?
Yeah, it's just west of the Brickyard Brook where we did the culvert repair
Okay. Gotcha.
on North. It's on Madeiros Way, actually, is what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll forward the pictures over.
Okay.
So it's just more about, we need to get prepared because we may not be so lucky the next time around. So,
No, you're absolutely right.
hopefully the city council will read this report with all the damage that was done around us and maybe start taking it a little more serious.
Yeah. Unfortunately, both of our city councilors have dropped out.
That's all
But
right. Like I said,
they-
I sent the report to them, so.
Right. They may still be watching on the video feed.
Yep.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, I experienced some of the situation up in Franklin County, having to drive through that area going up to Vermont this past weekend. And I will say that, the Millers Falls area and other parts of Franklin County, they really got hit very hard. Also with the, I'm going to put this under new business communications. And actually, I see an error on my thing here. I have communications twice. So under communications, so what Steve sent us, I'll just read through it real brief. And this is from Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. This is their report. The town of Montague declared a local state of emergency. Several roads closed due to flooding, excessive mud in their downtown. Rail lines are unable to operate due to rails being underwater. The Pan Am and East Central rails. Mud through town Sunday night. Crews are working to clear the roads. 25 people displaced, 2 housing units. 15 will probably be able to move back in a couple of days. Northfield declared a state of emergency. They have many road closures and washouts. Gulf Road is closed with fire department on scene. 4 Mile Brook Road in several places, cutting off access. Orange Road due to flooding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Irving looking to declare local state. They did just declare a local state of emergency for road closures. Let's see. Bridge near North Road dropped roughly 6 inches, and the roadbed is showing cracks. That whole section was all collapsing, I believe, as of yesterday. Warwick declared local state of emergency. Many roads washed out and closed. Non-paved dirt roads appear to be washed out. Driveways, et cetera, debris on the main roads, requesting a large quantity of cones and road barriers. Orange declared local state of emergency, extensive flooding. Fire station is cut off from some sections of town due to flooding. Bridges will need to be inspected post-event. And the town has requested a dam inspector. They have an earthen dam at Tully Pond, 2 feet over capacity and topping over the causeway. Again, this was over the weekend. So, you know, they're looking at bridge issues because of flooding. They're enlisting they called in the Army Corps of Engineers to look at the dam. They're also having the DCR, Office of Dam Safety, look at the dam. New Salem bridge closed due to washout. Causeway between Athol and New Salem over Lake Rohunta is underwater. Wendell, parts of the road completely, Farley Road completely washed out. Let's see, Heath Row Road is approximately a half mile of washouts and 3 culverts that are completely damaged. Washouts are over 5 feet deep. Belchertown, large chunk of the road missing. Where Coy Hill Beaver Dam failed, washed out the road. Town is working to restore issue. Hadley, 1 culvert washed out. Road is closed. Town is handling other issues. Palmer declared local state of emergency for flooding. 150 people cut off due to the flooding. Town went door to door to check on residents. Wilbraham Street underpass flooded. People were pulled from vehicles. Road is closed. Route 20 and Route 181 closed due to flooding. The highway garage started to flood, so vehicles were moved out. That's their DPW. Holland, minor residual residential flooding along the lakefront properties. Tolland, Schoolhouse Road is damaged. Chester, 8 roads documented with damage. Others are currently being evaluated. Worcester, Airport Road Hill and Mill Street got washed out. Several other roads flooded. Royalston, it goes on and on. Royalston, Athol, Harvard, Spencer, Warren, Sheffield, Hinsdale, Washington, Richmond, Lenox, Otis, Dalton. I believe there's a few other towns. So as you can hear, I mean, we really, as Steve said, we dodged a couple bullets the last few weeks, even though we had the flash flooding event. We dodged bullets with the hurricane or tropical storm Elsa, where it just looked to Meriden, Connecticut, and their whole downtown was 3 to 4 feet deep or more in some places, parts of Rhode Island and other areas in Connecticut. We're getting very, very lucky, and our flood control infrastructure still isn't exactly where it should be, especially Little River Levee. As another update, I did mention this in our last meeting, but I'll mention again. The flash flooding event after in the post flash flooding event, Jeff Gamelli at the Water Resources Department informed us and the city engineer Mark Rosati that the backflow preventer valves on the pump station itself, which prevent Westfield River from backflowing into the pump station, are not opening fully, which is reducing its capability to pump water out of the city, and they will require a professional engineer to look at the facility to see if there's a way to repair them or if they have to be replaced. More than likely, they'll have to be replaced. It's probably because of their age. And of course, that's another cost that our commission really doesn't have funds to deal with. And then other communications, let's see. Mass FM. So Mass FM released Mass Floodplain Management, sent out their summer newsletter for 2021, and the organization has received its charter from the Association of State Floodplain Management Managers Incorporated. So we now are, the commissioners are all members of this organization. It's a statewide organization that was kind of spurred by FEMA. And it's a compilation of both private business and government agencies working together to both advocate for and work toward improvements in the state's flood control and floodplain management, as we lag far behind most other states in these areas. Floodplain management is important because the floodplain absorbs the flood and floodwaters, and if we develop out every square inch of the floodplain and the water has nowhere to go, the flooding in the levee protected areas gets that much worse, and in the areas that aren't levee protected, because you're taking up the space that the water would otherwise occupy with buildings and other structures. So, they've received their charter. They do talk about the new FEMA program that's coming out with the updates, the flood maps, and I'll read through that because it does touch on what we were just talking about a little while ago with the flood maps. Risk Rating 2.0. Risk Rating 2.0 will change the industry, not just the NFIP. Written by Joe Rossi, ANFI CFM. When FEMA announced the transformation of the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, and that's just so everyone understands, when you get flood insurance for your home, it's done through FEMA's NFIP. Doesn't matter who your agent is, it's done through the federal government. And the federal government backs that insurance policy. Let's see. NFIP with updated and modernized rating, dubbed Risk Rating 2.0. Questions and concerns were raised from various industries, such as insurance agents and real estate professionals. As FEMA begins to release details around Risk Rating 2.0, it's clear that the NFIP transformation will not just impact impact insurance rating, it will impact the entire flood industry. From private flood insurance companies to floodplain managers, each stakeholder will be influenced by Risk Rating 2.0's implementation. Okay, Mark Rosati's logging back in. I'll wait till he pops in and then I'll continue. Okay.
That's gonna put the B zones into an A zone now.
Possibly. Welcome back, Mark. Just so you understand, I'm reading through Mass FM's summer newsletter and their update on the FEMA Risk Rating 2.0 with the NFIP. FEMA has branded Risk Rating 2.0 as an equity in action, since the coming changes will make the NFIP rates more fair and easier to understand. Equity in action replaces the current binary in versus out of high-risk flood zone pricing methodology. Rather, it uses graduated rating, which is a pricing methodology used on factors such as distance to water, types of flood exposure, and other advanced elements. Equity in action will also bring more equity to NFIP's policyholders by basing rates off the building's replacement cost. The higher the building's replacement cost, the more expensive the premium, and vice versa. So just so everyone understands, again, this is your flood insurance. So when you get flood insurance, doesn't matter who your agent is, it's done through NFIP, FEMA, and it's backed by FEMA, and they set the standards and the rates, and this is going to affect those rates. So I'll read that key line. The higher the building's replacement cost, the more expensive the premium, and vice versa. So if you're in a floodplain and you have flood insurance or are required to get flood insurance by your mortgage holder, this is going to affect you. And if you live in a floodplain and don't have flood insurance because you don't have a mortgage, I highly encourage you to get it. In April, FEMA issued a press release on equity in action, the state fact sheet showing projected rate changes. 11% of NFIP policyholders will see a premium increase of over $120 per year. 63% of policyholders will see a premium increase of $0 to $100 a year. 23% of NFIP policyholders will see a premium decrease. The changes in the new NFIP rating methodology will have impacts throughout the entire insurance industry. For example, once equity in action takes effect, private flood insurers may find expanded or changed opportunities to sell policies that will close the insurance gap. Overall, what FEMA will accomplish in the transformation is making the NFIP part of a rapidly evolving competitive flood insurance environment where insureds asked to see a quote from multiple carriers, one of them being the NFIP. So apparently that there is private flood insurance. I didn't think there still was anybody that was brave enough to do it on their own, but anyway, changes under the equity in action are not limited to the world of insurance. The impacts and benefits of mitigation options, such as the elevation of a home, have been difficult to clearly communicate and are not always a viable solution. The coming changes to the NFIP bring better solutions and easier communication for mitigation options. Under equity in action, premium credits will now be given for the elevation of mechanical equipment currently not credible mitigation activity. Let me read that again. Currently not a credible mitigation activity under the NFIP. The NFIP is changing how home elevation premium reductions are calculated. Currently, premium discounts max out when a building is elevated 4 feet above the base flood elevation. But with equity in action, the higher you go, the less the premium will be. So if you're like some folks who live on Long Island or other front properties, putting your house on stilts, the higher you go, the better off you'll be for your flood insurance costs. Importantly, mitigation credits will apply everywhere, not just for those properties in high-risk flood zones. These changes will also enhance flood resilience of our communities. As the financial benefit of mitigation grows, so will the elevation of and mitigation of buildings. Essentially, the mitigation elements of equity in action will have a trickle-down effect that benefits many other stakeholders. So there's that. Let's see, they were talking about a few other things I won't go into. It is posted on our Facebook page in its entirety if anyone wants to read through this. There's a little bit more about the Risk Rating 2.0 program. Let's see. There's one other thing I wanted to read in here. Oh, yes, there it is. Mass FM's annual conference and meeting will be held on the afternoon of October 21st, 2021. Okay, moving on. We have one last thing, and this is formality for the Little River Levy. It's dated July 1, 2021, City Council, Westfield, Mass. Attention, City Clerk Karen Fanyon. Councilors, this letter is a request for your consideration and approval of the following orders. 1, an order for taking of real estate by right of eminent domain for the purposes of constructing, installing, maintaining, replacing, removing, and using a flood control levee for the inhabitants of the City of Westfield. Order 2, an order of appropriation from the Flood Control Commission capital outlay account number 1299000-58900, $118,581.50 for the above taking. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Donald F. Humison Jr., Mayor, Westfield. And this is for the taking of the 6 parcels of Little River Levee that the city does not currently own. And then I'll read the letter. Let's see. Dear Mayor Humison, this office requests eminent domain takings for the subject project as required by the law and the Army Corps of Engineers. The orders of taking prepared by our law department accompany this request utilizing Flood Control Commission, other capital outlay account, and then the account number. Should you desire further discussion, please contact me. Thank you for your consideration. Yours truly, Mark S. Crosati, PE, City Engineer. And then it goes through each of the parcels. So that went before the City Council. The City Council, I believe, approved it. So we'll be purchasing those 6 parcels in the near future. Mark Crosati, if I'm wrong there, correct me, but I believe the process is underway, correct?
Well, the process is underway. They did not approve it though. So it went into committee. It's got to come out and be read twice before it actually becomes law. So
Okay.
we're looking at the next council meeting is the end of August and then September. So we're looking at beginning of September before this is finalized.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for correcting that. I wasn't sure how that took place. I'd heard it in the meeting and I didn't hear all the details. I was slightly distracted by my daughter.
Sure.
And I believe that same night we had the flooding event, which I promptly took off for to go our flash flooding event. So there's that's pretty much it. I don't have any other communications that I can think of off the top of my head. Other than well, actually, I'll stop for a moment. Mark Goodness, do you have anything that you'd like to communicate?
The pump station is in good shape. I've checked that out. I do not have any reports on the 2 dams. I have not been able to get in there lately.
Okay. Understood, though. It's probably not it's not the easiest to get in there. Jack Cleary, do you have anything you'd like to
Well, I
any
went down
observations?
yesterday to the bridge and looked at the Westfield River. And it's the first time I couldn't see any land. That was going from one bank to the other bank. It was viciously flowing down, a stream amount of water. I went to see, because a couple of days ago, you and I were down at Little River. So I went up at Coles Bridge area, walked over there and looked at with that. And that was flowing like mad. So all that water goes down to the area we're working on in the Little River. So it was extreme amount of water, extremely fast volume and velocity. And so far, I went down to the pump station, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, they didn't seem to have any problem that they had to put any staff there because there's no one there. So
Right.
That was a lot of water, and we haven't had a hurricane.
Correct. Anything else, Jack?
No.
Okay. Yeah, just to piggyback on that, what both commissioners said. So I haven't gotten to Armbrook or Powder Mill, unfortunately. I've not had a chance to get down to those. Little River Levee, I've kind of been keeping tabs on, and as I said earlier, it's up over the conduits, backflowing through into the old, quote unquote, old canal. But it is coming down. The Westfield River has been coming down steadily over the last couple of days, yesterday and today. It crested around 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there on the USGS gauge on Route 20. It crested and started to recede. And again, it's a rapid rise, rapid fall river system, I should say. And just so people understand, I did post the USGS gauge readings over, it goes over a period of 7 days, I think. I posted it on our Facebook page, but from roughly 11:30 p.m. on Sunday to 4:45 in the morning, the Westfield River rose, I'm trying to remember, I believe it rose about 4.5 feet, 5 feet. So that kind of gives you an idea how fast the river goes up. And that's, again, that's the height of the river based at the, measured at the US Geological Survey's flood gauge on the Westfield River at Westfield on the West Springfield Westfield line. There are also 2 gauges further upstream that USGS monitors at, I believe, at Huntington and one at Nightville. So it's basically Nightville and Littleville dams just downstream from them is where they monitor. So, and those are publicly available if you want to go online and look for them. You can type in USGS, look under Massachusetts flood gauges, and you can find the flood gauges specifically and look at them in real time.
I should pull up one guy.
What's that, Mark?
Just talking
Yes,
to
I'm sorry.
myself.
Gotcha. So yeah, anyway, so the rivers are coming down. We, like Steve said, we dodged a bullet. We dodged a big bullet. I got to wait for Little River to go down a little bit more to see how much erosion damage occurred. But I do know that I took some video, a bunch of pictures like I usually do, and it was up. It wasn't quite to the October, or I'm sorry, I keep saying October, the Christmas storm we had, but it was comparable. It was definitely comparable, and the amount of debris flowing down both rivers was definitely noticeable as well. A lot more stuff being pushed out. So with all the rain, the ground really can't take too much more. And fortunately, it's been dry the last couple of days, and hopefully tomorrow we'll kind of be spared some of the severe weather and the flooding. And as some of you may have heard, or most of you have probably heard, the tornado in Somers, Connecticut. So, but long-term forecast is still, we're looking at more rain to come, considerable amounts of rain. So it's not good. Pretty much it, I guess. Unless somebody has something else.
I just sent those pics to your phone now, so you'll see them.
Yes, sir. They just came in just a second ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, and one other thing. I did post some pictures on the Facebook page, the flood control Facebook page, about the height of the river. So the landing at the bottom of Half Mile Falls Park, there was a debris field when I got there at 11 o'clock on Monday. There was a debris field on that area, so you could see the height. Basically, the whole landing was covered at water at one point. So, and when I got down there, I ran into Mr. Blazik, and they were he and another city employee were working on looking at the pumps for the waterfall and looking at for damage and how to clean up the mess. So, and I also want to do a shout out to Shannon Chiba, Cheryl Crow, and the rest of their crew for the fabulous work on the levee wall. It looks great. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's the mural on the Westwood River levee between the Great River Bridges and the Columbia Rail Trail Bridge, the former railroad bridge. It's coming along very, very nicely. So kudos to them, and thank you very much for all that hard work that you guys have put in to make that happen.
Let's hope that water doesn't go up and wash that all out now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm hoping it'll hold up. Steve, one other thing, you posted something about flooding and people in town. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
I will, in case we do have people listening. So on MEMA's call today, of course, they're trying to document cities and towns, what their damages are to meet that federal guideline. They got X amount of millions of dollars before the feds will come in and help us out. But what they want to do is right now there's no money for private flooding, but they do want to document it in case somewhere down the road that there's going to be some type of assistance either from the state or federal. So I did ask if people had flooding damage from these storms to either contact me through email or even on my phone, and so I can get it documented. So if they do at some point come out with some funding, that these people might be able to get some reimbursement. So. But right now it's just documenting, and we're just going to record keep it. And if they announce it later on, I'll submit all the documents that I put together.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And Steve, if you could just say your city email so folks, if anyone watching wants to write it down.
Yep. Well, it's steve.malochleb as in Bravo @cityofwestfield.org. Or they could even call the Westfield Emergency Management number up here through the city and just leave a message on my office phone as well, too.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And hopefully we don't get too many calls about it that, people had their basements flooded and had damage. With that, does anyone have another motion they'd like to make?
Like to make a motion to adjourn?
Perfect. We have a
It's
second.
at 7:14 p.m. I'll
7:14
second that.
PM. Seconded by Jack Leary. Motion made by Mark Goodness. Roll
We have
call.
to take a roll call on that.
That's what I said. Roll call. Mark Goodness.
Yes.
Jack Leary.
Definitely.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. Meeting is over and adjourned. 7:16 PM.